Silent Discovery. The grand observatory aboard the Solarian flagship Eternal Dawn hummed with activity as officers gathered around the central holographic display. High Commander Varric, his scaled skin reflecting the blue light of the projection, studied the small blue-green planet that had appeared in their deep space surveys. Technician Zorl, report on life signs, Varric commanded, his four eyes narrowing as he focused on the hologram. Zorl, a slender being with silvery skin, manipulated the controls with practiced precision. Preliminary scans indicate a Class 4 civilization. Commander. Primitive space travel capabilities, limited to their own solar system. Heavy industrialization. Estimated population, 8 billion. A murmur rippled through the officers on the command deck. 8 billion was substantial. A resource-rich world. The Solarian Empire had expanded across 12 systems already, bringing primitive species under their protection and governance. Some called it conquest. The Empire preferred the term enlightened integration. Perfect, said Varric, his mandibles clicking in satisfaction. What do the natives call their world? They call it Earth. Commander. They call themselves humans. Varric had never heard of them. No surprise. The Solarian Empire had only recently expanded into this spiral arm of the galaxy. New conquests were becoming harder to find. Send Scout Fleet Delta to establish preliminary observation posts. Standard protocol. Remain in shadow orbit. Gather intelligence and prepare for first contact procedures. Sub-Commander Telix, Varric's second-in-command, stepped forward. Sir, is a full scout fleet necessary? Our scans show their most advanced weapons are chemical propellant-based. They haven't even developed basic shield technology. Varric waved a dismissive claw. Standard procedure, Sub-Commander. The Empire wasn't built on carelessness. Within a day, Scout Fleet Delta, 5 of the Empire's advanced stealth vessels, departed for Earth. Each ship carried a complement of 200 elite soldiers, more than enough to handle any primitive resistance. The fleet would establish observation posts, study the humans, and prepare for the inevitable integration into the Empire. Varric expected daily reports. None came. After 72 hours of silence, he called an emergency meeting of his war council. What do you mean vanished? He demanded, slamming his armored fist onto the council table. Communications Officer Wren swallowed nervously. Commander, we've sent 23 hails on all frequencies. Scout Fleet Delta has not responded to any communications. Their tracking beacons went offline exactly 48 hours after departure. The last automated telemetry showed them entering Earth's outer orbit. Then, nothing. Varric's inner eyelids flickered in agitation. 5 ships, 1,000 elite troops, gone without explanation. It was unprecedented. Could it be a natural phenomenon? A solar flare disrupting communications? Science Officer Maris shook her head, her feathered crest rippling with the movement. Negative, Commander. We've been monitoring the star. It's remarkably stable, even by stellar standards. No unusual activity whatsoever. Then it must be the humans, Varric concluded. Somehow they've destroyed or captured our scout fleet. Sub-Commander Telix looked skeptical. With chemically propelled missiles and primitive radar. Impossible, Commander. Varric stood, his full 3-meter height imposing in the council chamber. Then we faced something unexpected, something that didn't appear on our scans. He thought for a moment, then made his decision. Prepare Battle Group Sunfire for immediate deployment. I will lead this mission personally. The council chamber erupted in surprised whispers. Battle Group Sunfire was an overwhelming force, 50 warships carrying over 30,000 troops and enough firepower to reduce a planet's surface to molten slag. Sir, ventured Telix, isn't that excessive for a Class 4 world? Varric's eyes fixed on the holographic image of Earth still rotating above the table. 5 ships and 1,000 soldiers disappeared without a trace. Sub-Commander. Nothing about this world is as it seems. We will proceed with maximum caution and overwhelming force. 3 days later, Battle Group Sunfire emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Varric ordered a full defensive posture, shields raised, weapons charged, fighters prepped for launch. "Maintain position at the system's edge," he commanded. "Long-range scans first. I want to know what we're dealing with before we advance." The scans showed nothing unusual. Earth appeared exactly as their initial surveys had indicated: a solitary inhabited world with primitive technology, minimal orbital infrastructure, and no apparent defense capabilities. "Sir," reported Sensor Officer Krell, "we're detecting debris at the coordinates where Scout Fleet Delta's signals terminated. It appears to be consistent with our hull alloys." Varric's blood ran cold. "Show me." The main view screen shifted to display a sparse field of twisted metal fragments. Analysis confirmed they were indeed pieces of Solarian vessels, but something was wrong. "These fragments," Maris observed, "they're structurally impossible." "Explain," Varric demanded. "The metal hasn't been broken by external force or heat. It's been folded somehow, as if space itself compressed around the ships until they buckled. I've never seen anything like it." Varric considered this information. Could their weapons technology be more advanced than we thought? "This isn't any weapon I recognize," Maris replied. "It's as if the physical laws of the universe were locally rewritten." A chill settled over the command deck. Varric made his decision: advance the fleet, maintain maximum alert status. All ships in defensive formation Delta 6. The massive battle group moved forward, a wall of advanced technology and firepower, unlike anything the primitive Earth should have ever witnessed. They'd reached the orbit of the gas giant, the humans called Jupiter, when the sensors detected something. A single small vessel leaving Earth's orbit, heading directly toward the battle group. "One ship," Telix questioned. "Scan it." "Sir, it's primitive. Chemical propulsion, no energy shields, minimal hull armor." "But," Krell hesitated, "it's broadcasting a signal. Audio only, directed specifically at us. How could they know our communication frequencies?" Varric wondered aloud. "Play it." A calm, almost emotionless human voice filled the command deck. "Solarian Battle Group, you have entered restricted space. Your previous scout fleet violated our territorial boundaries. They were removed as a consequence. Retreat beyond the heliopause immediately, or face similar removal. This is your only warning." Stunned silence fell across the bridge. The humans not only knew who they were, but they had admitted to destroying Scout Fleet Delta, and were now threatening the same fate for a battle group 50 times its size. Telix was the first to recover. "Commander, they're either insane or bluffing. That vessel couldn't even scratch our smallest ship." Varric stared at the tactical display. The tiny human ship maintained its course, alone against 50 Solarian warships. "Target that vessel," he ordered. "Minimal weapons power. Disable it and bring it aboard. I want to know how they destroyed our scout fleet." "Targeting, sir," Weapons Officer Draz confirmed. "Energy cannons locked. Fire." The command ship's forward cannons released a perfectly calibrated energy pulse, enough to disable the small craft without destroying it. The pulse never reached its target. Halfway between the Solarian fleet and the human vessel, the energy beam simply vanished. Not absorbed, not deflected, it ceased to exist. Before anyone could react, the sensors screamed alerts. 3 Solarian ships at the edge of the formation were disappearing. Not exploding, not breaking apart. Their hulls seemed to fold in on themselves, compressing into nothingness until they were simply gone. "Impossible," Telix shouted. "All ships, evasive maneuvers." Varric commanded, "Lock all weapons on that human vessel." The fleet scattered, 50 massive warships moving with surprising agility for their size. Every weapon in the battle group targeted the lone human ship. "Sir," Krell reported, his voice shaking, "I'm detecting anomalies forming around our fleet. Space itself is distorting. The view screen showed it clearly now. Ripples in the fabric of reality, like heat waves on a desert horizon, forming around multiple Solarian ships. Wherever these distortions touched, matter simply ceased to be. All ships fire at will. Varric ordered. A barrage of energy beams and projectiles surged toward the human vessel and vanished before impact, swallowed by nothingness. 5 more Solarian ships disappeared, then 7 more. The battle group was being systematically erased from existence. No explosions, no debris, just gone. The human voice returned, echoing through the increasingly desperate command deck. We do not fight wars, Solarian. We solve problems. You are a problem. Problems can be removed from the equation. Varric watched in horror as his mighty battle group was being systematically erased. Whatever technology the humans possessed, it wasn't weapons in any conventional sense. They weren't destroying his ships. They were removing them from reality itself. Retreat, he finally ordered. All ships, emergency hyperspace jump. Get us out of this system. The remaining ships turned, their engines flaring as they prepared to flee. But the distortions were spreading faster, consuming ship after ship. As the command ship's hyperdrive spooled up, Varric watched the view screen where the small human vessel remained, completely untouched, broadcasting a final message. Remember what you witnessed here. Humanity doesn't fight. We solve. We don't destroy. We remove. Tell your empire. Earth is not for conquest. The command ship shuddered as space warped around it. The last thing Varric saw before darkness claimed him was the blue-green planet hanging in space, beautiful and terrifying in its peaceful appearance, harboring a power that defied comprehension. The Void Protocol. Dr. Eleanor Chen stood before the Global Defense Council. Her expression grave as the holographic display showed the remains of the alien battle group dissolving into nothingness. The Void Protocol performed exactly as designed, she reported. 53 alien vessels neutralized. 0 casualties on our side. 0 collateral damage to orbital infrastructure. General Marcus Okafor, chairman of the council, nodded solemnly. And the survivors. 17 ships escaped beyond the heliopause. Based on their trajectories, they're returning to what we assume is their home territory. They received our message. The council chamber, a vast underground facility beneath the Himalayas, fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had just declared itself to the stars in the most dramatic way possible. This changes everything, said Ambassador Lin, her fingers steepled in thought. For centuries, we prepared for first contact. We assumed it would be peaceful. We were wrong. Dr. Chen manipulated the holographic controls, bringing up detailed scans of the alien technology they'd managed to record before implementing the Void Protocol. The Solarians, as they call themselves, possess technology approximately 2 centuries ahead of our public capabilities. Their weapons are energy-based, their hulls composed of alloys we've only theorized. But none of it approaches the Void Protocol. The Void Protocol, humanity's greatest secret and most terrible weapon. The culmination of physics research that began in the mid-21st century when scientists discovered that reality itself was more malleable than anyone had imagined. What started as theoretical quantum mechanics had evolved into the ability to selectively remove portions of space-time from the universe. They'll be back, said General Okafor with certainty. And in greater numbers. Dr. Chen nodded. Undoubtedly. Our analysis of their communications indicates they're part of an expansionist empire. They referred to Earth as a Class 4 world, suggesting they have a classification system for potential conquests. Then we must prepare, Ambassador Lin stated. The question is, do we maintain our isolation policy, or do we reach out to potential allies? For over a century, Earth had maintained a deliberate policy of isolation from the greater galaxy. The early detection grid established in the 2080s had identified numerous alien spacecraft passing through the solar system's outer reaches, None had been permitted to detect Earth's true technological level. To the outside universe, humanity appeared to be a primitive species barely reaching into space, a carefully crafted illusion hiding a civilization that had mastered forces the rest of the galaxy barely comprehended. We maintain isolation for now, General Okafor decided, but we accelerate the Sentinel program. If the Solarians return, they won't be alone. The Sentinel program, a network of automated defense platforms positioned throughout the solar system, each equipped with Void Protocol technology. Once fully operational, it would make the entire solar system impenetrable. There's something else, Dr. Chen added hesitantly. During the encounter, we detected unusual energy signatures from 3 of the Solarian vessels. They were scanning us with technology we haven't seen before. It's possible they glimpsed through our facade. This was concerning news. Humanity's strategy relied on appearing primitive while harboring advanced technology. If the Solarians had seen past this deception, the calculus changed entirely. How soon can the remaining Sentinel platforms be deployed? Okafor asked. 6 months for full coverage of the inner system, another year for the outer system boundaries. Accelerate it. I want full deployment in 3 months. Whatever resources you need, you'll have them. As the meeting concluded, Dr. Chen remained behind, studying the holographic image of the Solarian ships. Something about their design troubled her. Hints of technology that seemed oddly familiar. You see it too, don't you? Came a voice from behind her. Chen turned to find Professor Emerson, Earth's leading xenorchaeologist, studying the same hologram. The structural similarities to the Martian ruins, Chen acknowledged. It's unmistakable. The Martian ruins, humanity's first evidence that they weren't alone in the universe. Discovered in 2041, the ancient structures beneath the Martian surface held technology that accelerated human development by centuries. Among the discoveries was the theoretical foundation for what would become the Void Protocol. Not just similar, Emerson corrected. They're derivatives. The Solarians didn't develop this technology independently. They found it, just as we did. The difference is, we understood it. They merely copied it. Chen felt a chill at the implication. You think the Solarians and humans share a connection? A common ancestor? Emerson shrugged. Or a common destroyer? The civilization that built the Martian outpost was fleeing something. Their records were fragmentary, but they spoke of a great consumption that devoured worlds. And you think the Solarians might know more about this? I think, Emerson said carefully, that there's more to this encounter than a simple territorial dispute. The universe just got significantly more complicated. 3 months passed with feverish activity. The Sentinel program accelerated beyond all expectations, with defense platforms now encircling the inner solar system like an invisible net. Earth's major cities had been equipped with localized void fields, last resort defenses that could remove incoming threats at the cost of immense energy consumption. Then the deep space monitoring stations detected it, a massive hyperspace disruption at the edge of the solar system. The Solarians had returned, and just as General Okafor predicted, they hadn't come alone. The Global Defense Council convened an emergency session as the sensors tallied the invasion force. Over 300 warships, including a vessel nearly 20 kilometers in length, the Solarian flagship. They've committed their entire Imperial fleet, reported Admiral Santos, her face grim on the holographic display. Our outer system probes are detecting communications between the Solarian fleet and at least 3 other alien armadas converging on our position. They've formed a coalition, Okafor realized. The survivors convinced other species to join them. Dr. Chen studied the sensor readings with growing concern. The flagship is generating energy readings beyond anything we've seen. They've adapted since our last encounter. Will the Sentinels hold? Ambassador Lin asked the question everyone was thinking. Chen hesitated. Against conventional forces, yes. But that flagship, they've developed something new. Something specifically designed to counter the Void Protocol. The council chamber erupted in worried conversations. Humanity had relied on technological superiority for its defense. If the Solarians had found a countermeasure, "We need to activate the Aegis," Chen stated firmly. The room fell silent. The Aegis was theoretical, a planetary-scale application of the Void Protocol that would essentially remove Earth itself from normal spacetime, shifting it into a parallel dimension where no external force could reach it. It had never been tested beyond computer simulations. The energy requirements would black out the entire planet, objected the economic minister. And we don't know if we could ever return. If the Solarians break through, there won't be a planet to return to, Chen countered. General Okafor raised his hand for silence. The Aegis remains our last resort. For now, we proceed with the established defense plan. Admiral Santos, deploy the Sentinel network. Dr. Chen, prepare the void amplifiers for maximum output. As the council dispersed to their stations, Okafor pulled Chen aside. The Aegis system, is it truly operational? Chen met his gaze steadily. It will work, General, but you need to understand what it means. Once activated, Earth will exist outside normal spacetime. We will be utterly alone. And if we don't activate it, Chen's expression was solemn, then we'd better hope the Sentinels hold. In high orbit above Earth, the first wave of Solarian ships approached the invisible boundary of the Sentinel network. For a moment, everything was still, the calm before an interstellar storm. Then space itself seemed to shudder as the Void Protocol activated automatically. Solarian ships began to fold and disappear, just as they had in the previous encounter. But this time, something was different. The massive flagship emitted a pulsing field of energy that spread to nearby vessels, somehow stabilizing them against the void effect. At the Global Defense Command, alarms blared as sensors registered the unexpected development. "They've developed a countermeasure," Chen exclaimed, furiously analyzing the incoming data. "Some kind of spatial anchor that's resisting the phase shift." On the main screen, they watched as the Solarian fleet pushed forward, their flagship projecting its protective field. The Sentinels were still removing many ships, but the core of the fleet remained intact, advancing inexorably toward Earth. "How soon can they reach atmosphere?" Okafor demanded. "At current speed, less than 30 minutes, came the grim reply. Chen made her decision. "Initiate Aegis preparation sequence. We need full planetary consensus in 10 minutes. As emergency signals went out to every government on Earth, the Solarian flagship broadcast a message to all Earth frequencies. "Primitive humans, your trickery ends today. You possess technology you do not deserve and cannot control. Surrender the void technology, and your species will be permitted to live under Imperial protection. Resist, and your world will be cleansed for proper colonization." The voice belonged to a new speaker, deeper, more resonant than the commander from the previous encounter. Emperor Xorvash, explained the xenolinguistics expert, the supreme ruler of the Solarian Empire. He's commanding this assault personally. On the view screen, the massive Solarian flagship moved into position above Earth's North Pole, its weapon systems charging. Smaller vessels formed a perimeter, establishing a blockade around the planet. "Aegis consensus achieved," reported a technician. "All nations have authorized activation." Chen looked to General Okafor, who gave a solemn nod. "Initiate the Aegis." Chen placed her palm on the activation panel. "May whatever gods exist forgive us for what we're about to do." Across the planet, massive generators spun up to full power. The global energy grid strained as power was diverted to the Aegis system. Cities went dark, transportation systems halted, and for a brief moment, human civilization seemed to hold its breath. In orbit, Emperor Xorvash watched with satisfaction as his fleet surrounded the primitive world. Their earlier demonstration of advanced technology had been concerning, but the Empire had adapted as it always did. The spatial anchors were holding against the human's strange weapon. Victory was at hand. Then his sensors detected an unusual energy buildup across the entire planet. Not weapons charging, something else entirely. What are they doing? He demanded of his science officers. Before anyone could answer, a ripple spread outward from the planet's surface. Not a shockwave, but a distortion in reality itself. It expanded rapidly, encompassing the entire world. And then, impossibly, Earth began to fade from view. Not exploding, not being destroyed, simply becoming transparent, like a ghost, before disappearing entirely. In the space where a planet had been moments before, there was now only empty void. Emperor Xorvesh stared in disbelief. The humans hadn't just used their technology as a weapon, they had removed their entire world from existence rather than submit to conquest. As the Solarian fleet hung in orbit around the empty space that had once been Earth, a final transmission came through. Dr. Eleanor Chen's voice, calm and resolute. "We did not remove ourselves from existence, Emperor. We simply stepped sideways. Remember this, humanity doesn't fight wars. We solve problems. You were a problem. And now you're not. We'll be watching from the shadows." Empire's Rikoning. 3 standard years had passed since Earth vanished. The greatest embarrassment in the history of the Solarian Empire had been carefully erased from official records. The disappearance of an entire planet and the Emperor's failed campaign explained away as a classified military exercise. But in quiet corners of imperial space, rumors persisted of the world that had removed itself from reality rather than submit to conquest. Emperor Xorvesh stood alone in his private observatory aboard the imperial flagship Eternal Ascendancy, staring at the empty coordinates where Earth had once orbited. Scientific vessels had been monitoring the region continuously, searching for any sign of the vanished world or its technology. "Still nothing, Your Eminence?" asked High Chancellor Draz, approaching with appropriate deference. "Nothing," Xorvesh confirmed, his 4 eyes narrowing in contemplation. 3 years of our best sensors, and not so much as a quantum fluctuation. The failure haunted him. The Solarian Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds across 12 sectors of space. Primitive species bowed before imperial might or were eliminated. Yet humans, a supposedly primitive species, had not only resisted but had demonstrated technology so advanced it bordered on the mythical. "The void technology," Xorvesh mused. "Our scientists are no closer to understanding it. The fragments we recovered from the encounter barely register as matter. They exist in a state of quantum uncertainty." Draz cleared his throat nervously. "Your Eminence, the High Council is growing, concerned about the resources being devoted to this matter. 3 entire science divisions, our best warships. They vanished an entire planet, Chancellor," Xorvesh snapped. "Not destroyed, removed it from spacetime itself. If we could harness such technology, the Empire would be truly invincible." "Of course, Your Eminence," Draz backpedaled quickly. "I merely suggest that perhaps a different approach." An urgent alert interrupted their conversation. The bridge communication system activated automatically. "Emperor Xorvesh," came the voice of Fleet Admiral Vex. "Sensors have detected something at the Earth coordinates. Something impossible." Xorvesh and Draz rushed to the bridge, where the command crew stood transfixed by the main view screen. At the exact coordinates where Earth had vanished 3 years prior, space was rippling. "Magnify," ordered the Emperor. The image zoomed in to show a distortion forming, reality itself seeming to fold and unfold, creating a pocket of non-space that grew larger by the second. "It's returning," whispered the science officer in disbelief. "The planet is returning." Before their eyes, Earth gradually phased back into existence, first as a translucent ghost, then solidifying until the blue-green world hung in space as if it had never left. Scans showed everything intact: oceans, continents, atmosphere, even the orbiting satellites. But something was different. The planet was now surrounded by a faint, shimmering field that defied conventional analysis. "Your Eminence," reported the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. Text only, directed specifically to you." The message appeared on a secondary screen. Emperor XORVSH. UC ERSTA We OFFER KNMOWLEG. One vessel. You alone. Coordinate is ATTE. ED. Come unarmed. Silence fell across the bridge. The emperor of the mightiest civilization in known space, invited, or summoned, to meet with the primitives who had humiliated his forces. It's obviously a trap, Draz declared. They mean to capture or kill you. Sorvash studied the message thoughtfully. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done so 3 years ago. No, they want something else. You cannot seriously be considering this, Draz protested. Prepare my personal shuttle, Sorvash commanded, ignoring the Chancellor's objections. Minimal crew, no weapons systems. Your Eminence, the High Council will never approve. The Council does not command me, Chancellor. I command them. Sorvash's tone left no room for further argument. I will meet these humans and learn their secrets. The future of the Empire depends on it. Hours later, Emperor Sorvash's shuttle approached the coordinates specified in the human message, a facility on the far side of Earth's moon. No defensive systems activated as they approached, no weapons locked onto their vessel. The shuttle landed on a designated platform that extended from what appeared to be an entrance to an underground complex. As the shuttle's ramp descended, Sorvash emerged alone, dressed not in battle armor, but in the formal robes of imperial diplomacy. The gesture was calculated. He came not as a conqueror, but as a leader seeking knowledge. A single human waited at the base of the platform, an older female with silver hair and eyes that reflected wisdom beyond her species' short lifespan. Emperor Sorvash. She greeted him in perfect Solarian language. I am Dr. Eleanor Chen, Director of the Void Protocol. Welcome to Lunabase. Sorvash descended the ramp, towering over the human. Up close, they seemed even more fragile than reports suggested, soft-skinned, without natural armor or claws. How had such creatures developed technology that outstripped the Empire's best minds? You have me at a disadvantage, Dr. Chen, he replied. You speak my language. You know our technology. Yet we know almost nothing of your true capabilities. Chen smiled slightly. That was by design, Emperor. For centuries, we've observed the galaxy while remaining selectively invisible. Please, follow me. She led him into the facility, through corridors carved directly into the lunar bedrock. The walls were lined with technology, unlike anything he had seen in the Empire. No visible power conduits, no control interfaces, just smooth surfaces that seemed to respond to the human's presence. 3 years, Sorvash noted as they walked. Your world was gone for 3 years. Where did you go? Sideways, Chen replied cryptically. Earth didn't leave the universe. We simply shifted to an adjacent probability state, a parallel dimension, if you prefer simpler terminology. They entered a vast chamber that stole the Emperor's breath. A holographic display filled the center, but unlike imperial holograms, this one showed not just three-dimensional space, but layers upon layers of reality, planes of existence stacked upon each other like pages in a book. This is the multiverse as we understand it, Chen explained. Each layer represents a different probability state of reality. Most species only ever perceive one. We learn to move between them. Sorvash studied the display in amazement. How did a primitive species achieve this while the Empire, with all its resources, remained ignorant of such possibilities? Chen's expression grew serious. That is why we invited you here, Emperor, to show you what you've been missing, and what you're threatening without realizing it. With a gesture, she changed the display. New images appeared, ancient ruins on a red planet. Mars, Chen explained. Your records might call it by another name. When we first ventured beyond Earth, we discovered these ruins, a research outpost built by a civilization far older than either of ours. Sorvash felt a shock of recognition. The precursors. We'd found similar ruins throughout our territory. Yes, we call them the architects. They left behind technology and knowledge, not weapons or ships, but fundamental understandings about the nature of reality. While your people copied their drive systems and energy weapons, we study their mathematics, their physics. The display shifted again, showing a familiar symbol, one that appeared in Solarian ancient texts. The void equation, Sorvesh whispered. Chen nodded. The foundation of existence itself. The architects understood that reality is malleable, that matter, energy, space, and time are all expressions of a deeper substrate that can be manipulated with sufficient understanding. And you achieved this understanding where we failed, Sorvesh concluded. We had an advantage, Chen admitted. Human minds are different, more adaptable, perhaps. Where your scientists saw impenetrable complexity, ours saw patterns. Where your engineers sought to build weapons, ours sought to understand fundamental principles. She led him deeper into the facility, eventually reaching a chamber that hummed with power. At its center floated a perfect sphere of what appeared to be liquid darkness. The void core, Chen explained. The physical manifestation of the equation. It doesn't generate energy or create force. It simply rewrites local reality according to our specifications. Sorvesh stared at the sphere in fascination and fear. Why show me this? Why reveal your greatest secret to your greatest enemy? Chen's expression became grave. Because you're not our greatest enemy, Emperor. Neither is your empire. There is something far worse coming, something the architects fled from. They seeded their knowledge throughout the galaxy, hoping some species would understand it well enough to prepare a defense. The display changed again, showing what appeared to be empty space, except it wasn't empty. Something moved there, vast and dark, consuming light itself. We call them the harvesters, Chen continued. The architects' records were fragmentary, but we've pieced together enough to understand the threat. They consume entire probability states, not just planets or stars, but entire layers of reality. And according to our calculations, they'll reach this region of space within 50 years. Sorvesh felt his blood run cold. This is why you contacted us. Not for peace, not for alliance, but because you need us. We need each other, Chen corrected. Humanity has the theoretical knowledge, but even with the Void Protocol, we're just one world. The Empire has resources, shipyards, billions of citizens across hundreds of worlds. Together, we might stand a chance. The Emperor studied the human carefully. In 3 centuries of rule, he had never encountered a species that could challenge the Empire. Until now. These humans, with their incomprehensible technology and their talk of existential threats, had upended everything he thought he knew about the galaxy and his place in it. You could have simply destroyed our fleet, he noted. You could have removed our homeworld from existence, as you did with Earth. Why diplomacy now? Chen smiled sadly. Because that's not who we are, Emperor. Humanity doesn't fight. We solve problems. War is inefficient. Destruction is wasteful. We removed ourselves rather than destroy you because we value life. All life, even that which threatens us. And if I refuse this alliance, if I return to my fleet and order the destruction of your world, the human didn't flinch. Then we would solve that problem too. But I don't think you will. She gestured, and a new hologram appeared. Detailed schematics of Solarian worlds, defense systems, even the Emperor's flagship. While Earth was away, we weren't idle. We've studied your empire thoroughly. We know its strengths, its weaknesses. We could remove your capital from existence before your fleet even activated its engines. Sorvesh should have felt rage at such a threat. Instead, he felt something unfamiliar, respect. But that would still leave the harvesters, he concluded. Exactly. So instead, I offer you this. Chen extended her hand, holding what appeared to be a simple data crystal. The fundamental principles of the void equation. Not enough to build your own protocol. That would be unwise. But enough to begin understanding what we're facing and how we might work together to survive it. Sorvash stared at the crystal, then at the human offering it. In that moment, he understood why Earth had vanished rather than fight. They didn't think like conquerors or even defenders. They thought like Cust.